Hello everyone, so today I want to talk about Cinderella, a relatively problematic child probably from the eyes of Shift Up due to her continuous issues with the bugs and stuff. However, she is a very good pilgrim unit, so let's come and take a look at her kits. Alright, so she is a pilgrim character that uses rocket launcher. Her rocket launcher is 32.11% of her attack, and when fully charged is 200% increase. The reload time is pretty average of 2 seconds. She has a pretty high ammo capacity for rocket launcher at 24 ammos. That's actually really nice. And at the same time, she is a defender. That means her natural attack value is way lower. In fact, Defender only has 2/3, 0.667% of the attack value compared to attackers. This means that her natural attack value will be extremely low. However, she make up for it by having some of her skill tied to her HP points. Her HP points, just like 2B, will backfeed into her attack value, so that her actual final attack value is actually much higher for being a defender unit. All right, let's take a look at her skill kit. Her first skill increase her attack via her HP. This is based off her final HP, so that any buff from other character that increase HP also works on her. And the second part of the skill basically makes her an auto rocket launcher. After the initial charge, her charge speed becomes 100%, so she'll just keep charging, shooting rockets continuously. And the third part of skill 1 is actually an additional bonus damage mechanism. Whenever she lands an attack, it deals 136.6% damage. What you need to remember is that this is not affected by charge damage. This is not affected by charge speed on the last point. And if you consider the fact that her normal rocket launcher is only 32.1% damage, and even at maximum charge 200% is 64%, the additional damage on the skill 1 is actually quite a big chunk of her normal attack damage. Alright, second, skill 2. This basically increases a decoy similar to what Ray does. And the decoy will exist and attract enemy powers. And whenever decoy exists, it will also increase her maximum HP. However, the maximum HP bonuses really doesn't increase that much. Is 30 something percent total. So 35% roughly total. And this is actually one of the lowest return skill in terms of values of the additional attack that it can provide. In fact, I think this is only like 3 or 4% growth. Is one of the lowest skill growth that's available to the new character that I've seen. Lastly, skill 3 is Glass Slipper. This is her burst. What it does is that it will deal 682.9% final damage, total 10 times. You need to know that you don't have to worry about attack rotation or attack timing or buff time, because the burst damage comes out really fast. It takes less than a second for her to shut out all those 10 shots. So you don't have to worry about juggling around the 10-second buff versus 5-second buff for your burst 1 and burst 2. And at the same time, it also deals additional damage. Depends on her mirror buff, which is a skill 2. So your skill 2 just has to be enough so that your decoy survive long enough, and everything else is a much bigger factor to her skill, to her attack power. Overall, if you are to level her up, which I strongly suggest you do, because she is actually a really good unit as of right now, with or without the bug. Skill 1, I would definitely recommend getting to level 7 first, skill 2 level 4 first, and skill 3 level 7. And when you have enough material, skill 1 level 10, skill 2 you can leave at 4, or you can push it to 7 if you want that just a tiny bit of additional damage, and skill 3 you can get to level 10. If you really want to push her durability, or if you really want to push her maximum damage to the brink, skill 2 I will recommend to bring up to level 9. I absolutely do not recommend level 10. There's just 2 minute skill of an increase that is worth it. you can probably use that as someone else or other character that supports her. It will probably get you a much better result. All right, let's get the elephant in the room out first. Cinderella is currently bugged. She is a very, very buggy character at character introductions, and she still remains buggy as of right now, about 4 days after release. She has initially an issue where her rocket does not hit exactly where it's supposed to land. And they did an emergency patch after that the second day, but the second day turns out that the actual hitbox is much smaller than what her AoE is going to hit. And because of that, the AoE tend to hit the body parts first, and you cannot hit core side easily with it. So the hit bar, the hitbox, and the hit rate issues has decreased her HP, her attack values by a bit, to be completely honest with you. But at the same time, we need to notice the fact that currently, as you can see, my Cinderella does 213% additional damage when she's charged. This 213%, for some reason, somehow, the dev has decided to apply that to the burst attack as well. This kind of bug is not new. This has existed for her run ever since the game's release. In fact, it took ShiftUp about half a year to fix these issues, and it's also one of the reasons why Haran is such a high placed character initially when the game's released, because she does provide a very, very high value screen wipe skill that is surprisingly effective, even though her the skill calc does not say that, right? So alternatively, you also need to know is the fact that even without the 213% buff to burst, she is still a pretty good unit. As of right now, based off of pure math calculations, she is going to be about 20 to 25% weaker, depending on your investment onto her, without the 213% bug. Okay, but however, without the charging damage enhancement bug that we're all experiencing right now, she is still a very capable unit. She, as you can see, she actually still hits extremely, extremely hard. And she is not a weak unit by any means. With the right support, she is dealing roughly about 0.90% of damage in the Dark Scarlet can output with Alice. Okay, Scarlet Black Shadow deals around 30% more damage when Alice is on her team, just due to the charge speed enhancement. They have a very bunker synergy going on right now. And even without something similar, Cinderella deals 90% the damage of Scarlet Black Shadow that typically takes another character to enhance. So if you want to consider that, that's like saying if Cinderella has another character dedicated to buffing her, in our case, it would be kind of like Asuka and Modernia. If Asuka's buff also helps Modernia, and she's also a main DPS herself. And by that, with that combo, Cinderella will actually outdamages Darklit. So it's not really... She's not weak. She won't be weak with the bug fix, even if they decide to not enhance her kit, even though I got a feeling some player base will probably go on Riot. Well, probably Riot if Cinderella did not get somewhat of an enhancement after they change out the 200% or the charge rate bug onto her burst probabilities. But just remember the fact that even without that bug, she is actually still very powerful unit based off of pure math calculations. Assuming that they fix the core damage buff, which I kind of assume that also brings her down her current damage a little bit. So if they fix a core buff and the core damage, remove the 230%, her average damage will be really good. Not as impressive right now, but still pretty decent. Okay, let's talk about her gear. Actually, this is the reason why I want to make the guild, the guide. There's so many, I won't say so many, there's some misinformation from other creators out there that I figure I need to fix. I don't understand where they got their math from, but it needs to be said. Okay, first of all, it is a good idea to max out the helmet and the chest to level 5. Okay. In this case, for her case, because she is a defender, a lot of her values comes from HP and herself, and also her own attack does benefit a little bit. I will recommend the glove at 3 and also the boot at 3. For most other attackers, I would suggest you to do 3, 5, 5, and keep the boot at 1 if they're attackers. Her situation is just a little bit different, so you need to put a little bit more effort. It looks like we're getting SSR, double SSR on banners now, so be a little bit more resourceful with your resources, because I got a feeling it's going to become a norm for multiple better units. And at the same time, for overload gear, okay? Due to her current kit, and due to the fact that her HP buffs her attack value, and due to the fact that overload gear's attack value is the increased attack is based off of her natural attack, not the final attack. Every value you see here is about halved. So increase attack by 11.8, it really realistically increased about 5 to 6%. It is still one of the better one to chase, but it is less important on her than on the other characters. And at the same time, like I said, she does deal a little bit less damage than Scarlet Black Shadow at the moment. So you don't really need to use her for damage chasing team, which means that attack value is actually a secondary overload you probably want to go for. The primary overload you want to go for is elemental damage. She is absolutely devastating to electric type characters. It is a good thing for you to itemize, weaponize that. So I would say 4 elemental damage is a really good one. In terms of attack maximum ammunition capacity, this really depends on the cube you want to put on her. Vigor is very useful on her because Vigor increases the max HP of your character. However, it only increased about 9.69%. Characters like Must, characters like Rouge, all increase max HP quite a bit. If you're using either one of them, Vigor becomes a little bit less useful, even though mathematically Vigor still takes the king or the crown for the amount of damage boost. What you need to know is the fact that if you are a new player and you happen to have Rouge, you have your Bastion level up, but not your Vigor cube, I will slap on the Bastion first and then slowly transition to Vigor later on. If you're an older player, just use Vigor on her. And at the same time, your weapon, your equipment overload has to change a little bit according to that. With Bastions, all you need is 1 plus ammo capacity at 60% or higher. With Vigor, you want to get 2 to 3 depending on the value of you get. If you are all low 60s or even lower than 60s, definitely you want 3. If you are higher 60, 68, or even you are lucky enough to get 77, you can possibly do with just 2. But personally, I would do hopefully to get 1 higher ones, and the other 2s are, you can be like 60%, 50%, doesn't really matter, as long as I get 4 elemental damage. Lastly, attack. Attack, it is not very important, but it is still a good value increase. On her is about roughly, like I said, half. So what you want to do is, after you put in your effort into overload gear, after your effort into elemental, you want to try to get attack. I typically recommend a player to get 9 useful overload gear. So 3 maximum ammo, 4 elemental. This means that you want to get possibly 3 attack, or you can try to do 4 plus 1, 3. No, 4 plus 3. You can either get 2 attack, or you can get 3 attack and 3 elemental if you want to make her a little bit more universal. What you do not want to do is attack critical chance, critical damage. They are good, but they are not necessary. Okay, you do not erase your other better stats or attack or elemental when you get crit. They roughly provides about 3% for a high value roll. but it's still less than attack elemental. And lastly, you do not need charge speed. Charge speed really only works on the initial attack after you reload. You also do not need charge damage, okay? Let me repeat, you do not need charge damage. It is an absolutely terrible advice to get charge damage on her. Her charge damage with 200% boost only does 64.2% damage. Her burst, even with a bug, only increased her charge damage a little bit because charge damage maximum or the higher values at around 11%. 11 out of 200% total damage, that is a total boost of 5%. Similar to attack, but it's much less versatile because let me do the calc for you. You have her normally can do about 83 shots between her burst rotation, which is about 30 to 32 seconds. 82 shots is roughly 52 times her attack. Okay? That's with full charges. And out of those 82 shots, you also do 82 additional damage. Additional damage is based off her first skill, and at burst at full rank is 136.6%, twice of your normal attack values. So that is going to be 112 just by additional damage of a damage rotation. On top of that, burst is 68% only for the 10 shots, and additional that's not assisted by charge attack as well. So what does this mean? This means that your total attack value is roughly, let's see, 268 plus 112, that is 180, 100 is 230. The beneficial version is only roughly 110% out of 230. Half. So half of a already measly 5% increase. Every single charge damage you get is, even at high value, is 2.5% versus attacks 5%. Do not get charge damage. All right, let's move on to the next section. Okay, I forgot to mention collectibles. Get her as good as a collectible as you can get, because collectible in general increase HP and attack, which is what she relies on. Start with a normal rare edition and slowly upgrade to SRs. My rate and my luck just sucks with these kind of upgrades, so mine is only stuck on level 10s. But get in as high as you can. She will appreciate it, she will love it, she will like you, and she will give you much better support once she's happy about her collectibles. All right, let's talk about her teammate. Well, as you probably already know now, her best Burst 1 teammate would definitely be Rouge. What you need to know is the fact that Rouge's skill 1, 2, and 3 all help increase maximum HP, and at the same time, that maximum HP is based off her own maximum HP, is based off of caster's maximum HP. This means that if you're like me, you do not typically enhances your burst, your supports overload gears. You probably have to, because Rouge's support increase is based off of her own HP, and you will help out Cinderella to provide more damage. If you do not have Rouge, don't panic. You can definitely get Leader. She's actually a very, very close support for Cinderella in terms of a total overall damage boost. Even though they are not exactly the most fitting characters out there. Is interesting because I can confidently support people. I can confidently recommend using Leader now for new players, because of the fact that Leader has a guarantee pulse for new players now. If you do 100 normal pulse to get, and you are guaranteed to have a selectables out of Naga, Leader, and Ellis. And I would definitely recommend you to get at least one copy of Leader. She's very useful, and she will be used on every single other raid out there. There is no way in heck, as of right now, for probably the next year or two, that Leader is going away anytime soon. Okay, if you do not have Leader, you have a very few limited alternative. You can kind of use Dorothy. I not very recommended, but Dorothy also works. And at the same time, you can also use this Frema. Fremont is not exactly the best case for her, but if you're a new player and does not have leader yet, Fremont's skill 2 actually increases maximum HP for her allies. Same goes to her burst skill, also increase maximum HP. And all these will also aid Cinderella during her attack phase. However, Rouge is still the best out there, so if you can, please put Rouge onto your wish list and try to pull her whenever possible. Her Burst 2 teammate, there is actually very few characters you really want to go for. First of all, it will definitely be Crown. Crown is your go-to for Cinderella. She provides the most amount of damage increase. As I previously stated, you don't want to have too much increased attack values because it does very little for Cinderella. So Crown is definitely the best to go. Currently, Crown is mostly used for Scarlet Black Shadow / Alice team. However, once Grave is released, because Grave's probability of increasing flat out attack damage and also increase piercing damage all the time, and along with that additional bullet of +3, she actually helps out Alice's damage by a lot. In fact, that will boost Alice's damage to a pretty crazy level again. So because of that, Grave goes to Black Shadow team, and you're putting Crown back into Cinderella team, which is kind of interesting because that's against the theme of the game, really. But say, what happens if you do not have Crown, right? You are using Rouge if you have Rouge after burst 1, I would definitely recommend Blanc, because Blanc is a character that buffs damage taken on enemies, which is a very good buff for Cinderella to have because it is not in the same calculated zone compared to the rest of the attack buffs. Alternatively, if you do not have Rouge and you can still use Blanc, for her burst 2, you just have to remember to replace Summer Annie's with Nor on your team, and this will work to make Blanc into a 20-second burst 2 character instead of a 60-second burst character. And alternatively, if you do not have Blanc where you want to use someone else, Elake is a decent choice. She's not the greatest, but she will work. Dola also helps out if you do not have a burst 1 CDR, a cooldown reduction characters. Lastly, you can actually use Ram, our previous collab characters. She provides additional attack during burst, and at the same time, she also provides some amount of healing to all rocket launcher characters. So with the fact that Rouge or other rocket characters, right? Rouge actually heals your entire team a little bit, and with the amount of healing that Ram can provide, there's a very good chance that your actually entire team does not require a more dedicated healer to make it through most raids. Alright, for her burst 3 teammates, we really have, the top choices are very limited, right? But we also have a lot of alternatives that's somewhat decent, somewhat what works for her. First of all, Ayn is a very good character for her electric team. She does good damage. She's actually a counter to Mirror Container. She also flies Dragoon system, so who doesn't like that, right? She has funnel system to her. Similar to Glass to Cinderella, so old Pilgrim versus a new generation that both use funnels. Why not? Very cool. Alternatively, you can, not alternatively, Summer Annie's is one of the best characters to use as off burst because of the fact that she increased her team's attack values based whenever you're in a burst rotation. It has to be electric, so this is also why Ayn is still one of the best other sub character to use along with Summer Annie's, because Ayn will also get the burst boost as well. You can use Scarlet. The issue with this team using Scarlet is the fact that Scarlet does self-damage and Rouge does not provide enough healing to her team, and she's in a very vulnerable position in normal raid. Okay, so if you say you do not have Ayn, you have Cindy, and you have Summer Annie's, who can you use to fill the third spot? In this case, a lot of times, what people does is, of course, Crown, and they put the Naga on the team. Right? The Crown Naga is one of the highest damage character available. But because of this, you need to be careful with how you position your team due to the burst, not the burst, due to the way that Rouge provide burst. So you need to order it this way to make sure your crown receive the right burst, and you also need to make sure that everyone is bursting accordingly. To putting crown on the left means that Naga will able to heal crown during burst, and crown will be under his full potential. Okay, and lastly, if you're not using Naga, you can use any other burst 3 character that is mainly independent of the other teammates. Winter Lamilla is actually really good because of her 12% damage boost to enemies, or damage taken boost to enemies, which is very useful. You can use Modernia as well. Modernia is definitely one of the best sub DPS, but of course you need to change the orders a little bit right here. And alternatively, you can also use where is she? You can use Phantom. Phantom herself has a very high self buff in terms of a status buff, right? And Phantom, oh shoot, I have not done a Phantom video yet. Phantom's skills are all, her entire kit boosts her attack very high, so she doesn't really need a attack buffer per se. And at the same time, her burst is only a very small portion of her total damage. So Phantom is actually the perfect candidate for you to use as a third burst, even if she doesn't support the team, because she still deals high enough damage. Lastly, you can have a slightly lower priority alternative like Helm that increase attack values. That's pretty much it. You don't really want to use Maxwell most of the time nowadays, but Maxwell is pretty much tied to Red Hood in solo raids and union raid. And also, I would say, in comparison, other characters I previously mentioned is probably a better fit for the team than Maxwell. So overall, I would definitely recommend Cinderella as a character to pull. In terms of her PvE capability, she is definitely top tier, tier 0. She is one of the highest damage dealer among everyone else, without only be beaten by Scarlet Black Shadow with her best support Alice in the same team. She is also at the same time not that great at the clearing map because she does have a ramp up parry, and that ramp up parry will probably kill her. Along with the fact that the additional damage mechanism and the rocket launcher mechanism, it's just a little bit slow to hit adders. So she's actually a little bit worse on that, but not much worse than the other, I would say, tier 1 characters. Actually, in fact, she is still better than tier 1 characters for PvE content. So I will give her tier 0 for raids and 0.5 tier for map clearing. Alternatively, she is not that great in PvP. She's not really being used for defense team. There's too many flaws that you can exploit out of her. She is a pretty good random choices for attacking team. So I would not pull her specifically to do PvP. But if you have her level up and completely geared up, you can try to use her as a surprised burst, delay burst characters that is actually able to wipe the enemy team as well. Lastly, because of her overload gear requirements, she honestly just needs plus ammo percentage if it's for new players, because new player doesn't really care for elemental damages. They don't really care for elemental raids that focus on element, and they're not there yet. So for new characters, for new players, all they really need to care about when first getting overload gear for her is ammo capacity. And out of 4 items, it's pretty simple. Well, now I wouldn't say simple. Pretty high chance of you to get at least 1 ammo capacity. It is also not too difficult to get 3 ammo capacity. Well, doesn't care about the rest. So she has a relatively standard or a little above standard highest potential with the right overload gear. But however, she has a very little initial investment cost in overload gear for her to really shine, so which makes her a very good beginner friendly Nikkei. especially when you first come into the game at the second anniversary. All right, that will be it for all of my Cinderella review for the time being. Hopefully, the bug fix doesn't change things too much. And yeah, if you like my video, give me a thumbs up or a like. Let me know how you feel. Subscribe and help me out really quick. I finally reached 100 subscribers after all these times, and well, let's hope for a better growth in the third year of Nikkei. All right, see you later. Bye.